To Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant. It's presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Do check out our good friends at Zaxby's. They're still open. They're rocking and rolling. Drive-thru's open. Use the app. Curbside pickup is available. And all these food delivery services doing God's work for all of us right now. They'll bring you the good stuff and the Zax sauce and all the stuff that you need. And, you know, while you're getting that delivered, you're like, man, I just spent money on lunch. What am I going to do for entertainment today? I've watched every single series on Netflix twice now. Well, sign up for Warchant. It's free right now. 30 days. Warchant 30. Use that promo code. Get a feel for things. Get involved in the message board. You're going to need to because Corey and Gene are cooking a little something up that's almost as delicious as Zaxby's. Why don't you say so, Corey? Brag on yourself for a little bit.
Well, yeah, we have I believe it was Gene's idea, I think. Obviously, it doesn't get executed without me because I make things go.
Right.
But it's an idea that I don't think any other outlet has ever even thought of, but it's like a 64-team tournament.
Okay.
But it's not the basketball tournament. It's about something else. And this one, actually, if you're a Florida State fan, is really, really cool. It's the 64 best players in Florida State history, and you get to have a tournament where people vote. Like you have a matchup against a matchup. So let's just say that let's just say if we did it, well, I don't even want to do that. I don't want to give away the seeding, but let's just say somehow in the semifinals, in the second or third round, it's Dalvin Cook versus Chris Winkie for best offensive playmaker, like best offensive player, because they have their own region. Best defensive playmaker has its own region, best lineman, and then there's a legend/specialists region.
This is football only?
Football only, yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
It's the 64. And the thing is, it's really dicey. Not dicey, but it's hard to cut down Florida State's best players to 64. There's a lot of them, and I'm telling you, in the defensive back and the defensive lineman position in particular, there are like All-Americans and first-round picks that aren't even in it, that didn't even make it, like got really close but didn't make the cut to even be in the tournament. So you're going to have 16 seeds or 14 seeds that were All-Americans and award winners because it's Florida State, man. There's not a lot of scrubs to choose from. There's none in this bracket anyway. So, there's obviously some of the names that you can obviously imagine. But, yeah, it should be it should be a fun time. I think we're going to do it where we do two pairings at once. So it'll be we'll do like a 1 versus 16 and an 8 versus 9 one day. And then the next day, you know how it works. Everybody knows how brackets work. But yeah, it should be fun. And everybody gets to vote on it. And that's how they advance. We don't choose. We chose the 64 and we seeded them. Myself, Gene, Ira, and Jeff Cameron seeded them. And then everybody else listening to this and the people on Warchant, well, specifically the people on Warchant, so you better be one if you're listening to this, gets to vote to see who advances to the next round.
And apparently there's going to be a thread for each matchup. So when like the 8-9 goes heads up or whatever, I think, let's say Dexter Carter versus Amp Lee, possibly. If you're a member of Warchant.com, you can jump into that thread and make your case. Just, figure out which guy you like, state your case, your opinion, give us some reasoning, some data, things of that nature. And apparently there's going to be some sort of blue ribbon panel that's going to go in the thread every single day and judge who makes the best argument for their guy. And if you're deemed to have made the best argument, you're going to get a $25 gift card to Garnet and Gold. It's an e-card, so if you're in Utah or if you're in North Dakota, you can still use it and buy something from garnetandgold.com. So,
like maybe a 2020 ACC champion basketball shirt.
There we go.
That's something, right? But yeah, that's cool. So we'll be giving those each day for the best argument. And it's not like you have to have you have to be impassioned. Number one,
yeah.
You have to kind of know what you're talking about. You don't have to have enormous analytical data to back up your point, but give us a reason why. Again, I'm just throwing this out there. Willie Reed was a better punt returner than Leon Washington or Greg Reed. Like if Willie versus Greg Reed, the two Reeds were against each other, give us a reason why you think one should be in front of the other. Something like that. That's what we're going to be doing.
Okay. I like it. And we'll talk about the matchups as they percolate and matriculate.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'll actually get to. I'll be useful for once because I even the Legends, I saw a good portion of them play.
So
in the Legends, by the way, the Legends bracket is anybody that played before 1985.
Right. So, like, why are you being a little tight-lipped about matchups? I mean, the NCAA, when they released the bracket, they released the whole thing. They're not just like, here's the East. We'll be back 3 days from now to let you know, like, aren't we just going to drop the whole damn thing and then
yeah,
day
but I
by
don't know
day
when we're dropping it. And I personally want the Warchant subscribers to get to see it first.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't know when we're dropping it, but once we're dropping it, once it's public knowledge, then yeah, we can talk about it.
Oh, well, then why I've been working on this video?
People have a pretty good idea who a few of the 1 seeds and 2 seeds will be. I will say this, and I said it in our promo video that will be on the site soon, just to give you an idea of the talent that we're talking about and how hard it is to seed something like this. There is a Heisman Trophy winner that is a 6 seed in his region. A 6 seed, and it's a Heisman Trophy winner, so do with that what you will.
Also, I have the whole bracket in front of me. There's one thing I'm going to say. I'm going to say one thing. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure, man. Go.
Jameis Winston is not a 1 seed.
Correct.
So
he's also not a 6 seed. So you can start figuring out maybe who that 6 seed is.
Well, I probably shouldn't have said that then. I apologize.
No,
and that wasn't
fine.
a criticism. It's just an observation. And so when you're doing this, again, I mean, you fans, honestly, literally, like you folks on Twitter, Warchant, you're going to vote every single day that these are made available, and it's your picks. The votes will be tabulated, and that'll determine the winner on these things. Jeff Cameron, Ira, Corey, and Gene determined the seeding, and I guess the 64 young men at that time, now grown men, that compromised this bracket. Do you think you guys did a good job of isolating this to their careers in Tallahassee, or do you think it's nearly impossible to block out what they accomplish afterwards?
Yeah, that's hard. That is hard. I think we did, for the most part, a very good job. Obviously, and I don't even remember where he's seated, and we don't have to go into where he's seated. But somebody like Marvin Jones did not have the best NFL career. He wasn't terrible. He wasn't a bust. He just got hurt.
Yeah, he was good.
But holy moly, he was the best college linebacker, one of the best college linebackers in history, maybe the best defensive player in Florida State history. So you have to take that into account. It can't just be that. But then there's also people like, frankly, like Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James. Derwin James maybe even more because Jalen did a lot at Florida State. Derwin, it's not like that he didn't do a lot, but he started halfway through his freshman year,
you can say that,
missed a whole year, and then didn't really find his form and regain his All-American form until halfway through his junior year. So somebody like that, maybe you take into account a little bit more of their pro career, somebody like Walter Jones. So it's hard. It's not.
I wouldn't put Derwin on the bracket. He's one of the 64 best Florida State football players ever.
I mean, isn't he?
No, what did he do? God bless him. He loves the university
he
and
led
everything.
The team in tackles as a freshman, and that was a. Were they the ACC champs
in 15?
No, Clemson was.
Yeah.
So, but they were a 10-win team, and he led that team in tackles, and then he was really, really good. I'd say the last half of his junior year. But yeah, that's, how do you, that's why the voting comes into play. Okay. We just put them up there, and then, that's where, literally, that's where people will be like, well, no, I don't take it. That's why it's up to the voters. Like, I don't take into account at all Derwin's pro career. So he's not going to beat someone like Tay Cody or whoever, Dexter Jack, whoever. I really don't even know. I'm not even looking at the bracket right now. But people like that. That's why it's cool that the voters get, like, everybody gets to vote. So you can have your own reasoning.
Well, I guess also looking at this, there's brackets, themed brackets. So there's an offensive playmaker bracket, a lineman bracket, defensive playmaker bracket, and then these legends and special teams. So this isn't really the 64 best players of all time.
No, look, it would have been half defensive linemen. And we wanted to give it. Look, what will happen, I think personally, is the final 8 will be the final 8. Will be very close to what the final 8 would have been anyway. But you don't want to. I like the way we did it, where we break it up like that. I just think it's easier. Like, how do you compare? I don't know, man. Ron Simmons to Warwick Dunn. Like, they don't play the same position, so at least in their brackets now you can compare. It's more. There's more of a constant. Like, it's a position by position against each other. Like, okay, I'm not asking you to determine if Darnell Dockett was a better football player than Dalvin Cook. I'm asking you to determine if Darnell Dockett was a better defensive tackle in your mind than X, Y, or Z.
All right.
So I like it like that. But yeah, I mean, look, man, it'll be the same way at Alabama, at Auburn, at Georgia. I don't know that those last couple have as many all-time greats as Florida State does, but it's really hard, man. It was really, really hard. You look at these lists and go, man, I gotta cut this to 16, or in some cases 8, and then I've also got to rank them. Like, that's really hard. But we did it, and we did it for you guys. Because we got to write about something. You got to read about something. We're all in this together. We're trying to make it fun. We got a lot of cool stuff, I think, anyway, planned for the coming weeks and months, however long this lasts. And I was telling you and Gene on Sunday when we were filming something, how, like, this is like, not that I would ever root for this, because I don't. It's awful. But this is where I can finally make myself useful. Like, if I'm talking about old Florida State players or games. That's my sweet spot. That's where I shine, because I actually have a really ridiculous memory about that kind of stuff, but I don't remember my son's middle name.
You realize if you guys do this whole, we're going to watch games and commentate on it, it's going to take like 3.5 hours with you.
No. We wouldn't. Oh, with me talking? Yeah, I don't think we would do. We're not going to watch the whole game. Like, we wouldn't watch like the 3-hour cut up of it. We'd watch one of those like 35-minute cut-ups of it.
Yeah, but then you're like, stop. This is the play right here. And then you're going to stop the play. You're going to talk about that singular play for 8 minutes.
Well, let me ask you this, Aslan. What else do you have to do? What, do you got to go rake leaves?
No, I got...
it should be 9 hours. It's Corey Clark and Gene talking about, and Ira talking about old, great Florida State games.
Games that we don't have the video. This is a video, as a video guy... I don't know if I can compare editing video to editing copy, but editing a 90-minute video has to be somewhere along the lines of editing like a New Yorker essay, which I don't know, like 10,000 words. Is that like a lot, or is that like it's going to be?
I think you could get the New Yorker would have about 8,000, maybe 6,000 to 8,000 words. Probably.
Well, that's good. You guys will do one game, and then by the time I'm done editing it, hopefully this whole thing's passed over, and we'll be doing summer football, and it'll be good times. Hey, a little programming note. Looks like ESPN using this whole senior night thing, where they're showcasing some of the best senior players that weren't able to finish their season because of the ongoing pandemic. And the FSU women's basketball team is going to be featured on Tuesday, ESPNU. At noon and then 4 p.m. Their victory over NC State in the ACC championship game, which they did not win. And then one of the wins they had over Louisville, the one that was on the road. So noon and 4. If you need some Florida State athletics, it'll be on ESPNU. And we hope to be having some FSU football present and relevant. This stuff's relevant too, but stuff that you guys want answers to. We'll hopefully be able to ask questions to coaches and players here. Florida State reached out to the media over the weekend and wants to try to coordinate maybe some phone interviews, maybe a Skype interview, so we can kind of catch up and see what these guys are doing. I think if you're on social media, if you follow the Warchant account, which is just at Warchant on Twitter, you'll see several videos that have been retweeted. I think Brady Scott, Marvin Wilson, Amari Gaynor, couple other guys whose name escapes me right now are being tagged in videos, doing some old school garage workouts. So they're trying to stay busy. Hopefully we'll get a little more idea of if there's any coordination behind this sort of stuff. And I do wonder, Someone's like, so what are the coaches doing right now? I don't know. It's a good question. I think they're probably trying to figure out ways to skirt around any sort of regulation about getting these guys together and having them do something. Not to use a poor choice of words there, but I am curious to see how they're doing. Aren't you, Corey?
Well, maybe not. Yeah, not do something.
Yeah.
Do a lot of
activities.
Do things well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am curious what they're doing. I don't know if it's as much that as sending out a whole bunch of texts and FaceTime calls to recruits.
Well, it's the
I know
dead period.
Is it the dead period till when?
Yeah, I don't know. I think until maybe I should look that up. I think it's going until April. I'll look it up.
Yeah, you're right. So I would. You wonder what they're doing. I mean, I know Dillingham retweeted a couple of things on Twitter from recruits putting Florida State in their final 8, which I don't know when that started either. Like, when did 8 become I saw that 3 times on Twitter on Sunday. This is my final 8, and then it's got the logo of each school.
April 15th, by the way, Corey. April 15th, which used to be tax day.
So they got 23 days. Yeah. And I also wonder, like, what all this is going to do the recruiting calendar. Like, I feel like the recruiting calendar has to be just blown up. Like, you can't go by this calendar as if it's a normal season.
Take away early signing period, hopefully. Go back to February,
maybe.
hopefully.
But, like, when you think about the dead period isn't really that big a deal normally at this time, because normally they're busy in spring practice. Like, I don't think Norvell would be. I mean, he's like, okay, that's fine. The dead period ends on the 15th. Our spring game's the 18th. We can start going out and watching these kids and doing whatever we have to do and calling them and recruiting them harder right after the spring is over. Well, now they literally have nothing to do with their own football team, and they can't recruit either for a month.
And they can't even go on vacation with their family or anything either.
Yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully they're socially distancing themselves from each other. Let's all hope anybody listening to this is doing that. And if any, like I said last week, if any of you guys that listen to this were on the beaches at spring break, you don't deserve to listen to this show anymore.
Oh,
you don't get to listen to this show anymore. So stop. You don't get to do it.
Don't be that way.
But yeah, so yeah, I am curious about that. I'm curious what they can do, what they can't do. I'm sure a lot of the players are home, but I'm also I would imagine they're in contact with the strength team. And did you see? By the way, did you see the Twitter the Twitter picture that Tamari and Terry posted?
Yeah, man, that's man. I wanted to do something like that and chronicle these guys going through the strength program, but obviously with this, there's no more access. But yeah, Tamari and Terry's done quite a transformation. Now a little bit of that is him flexing a little bit of theatrics.
Yeah, but I'm sure he was flexing in the one on the left too. It wasn't
he was. He was relaxed.
Come on, it wasn't like one of those before and afters with Slim Fast where the guy's like
pushing his gut out and then sucking
his gut out. Yeah,
I can tell because I've done those photos before.
No, you haven't. You've done a back photo.
Yeah, man. You should see me on the pull-up bar, Lafayette Park, son. Just busting out reps, man. Sets of 20. I need to start bringing. I usually have weights. I usually have weights strapped around my waist when I do pull-ups.
But you've actually had who takes the picture?
I had it on a timer, so I just did it myself. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Was it? I know obviously it's vanity, and I get it too. When I worked out a while ago, it's been a while ago now. I did look at myself in the mirror to see the gains and see the muscles actually forming. You do kind of get addicted to wow, that's different.
Yeah.
But were you doing it because obviously your back, you can't see it?
Yeah,
so
my
is that
back
why you did it, or were you taking the picture to send to someone?
No, it was to do before and afters when I was chemically experimenting with enhancing my physique. So I did before and afters.
That's a good confession.
And yeah, dude, listen, I got up to 205. I was 205 pounds. Right now, I don't know what happened to me. I'm trying to go see a doctor. But obviously, I'm probably not going to be able to see one for probably another year and a half with all this going on. But I'm down to 172, which is not good. I haven't been this light in a long time. I don't know what happened to me here, but not to be on the couch here with you. But yeah, no, I never got I've never been really ripped on the I don't know. It's hard to have a ripped back, but my back got much wider. It was a good time. It was a good time. 2006. Your boy was swole. But then the Great Fire of 2006 came, and that threw a wrench in things. So.
Yeah,
but no, Tamori Terry looks great. Did he put his weight, like his before and after weight? I mean, he looks noticeably different, and it's not. I mean, I'm poking a little bit of fun, and there's a little bit of posturing to make it look a little more, convincing or what have you in terms of the gains he's made. But it's crazy, and it's only like a 3-month before and after. It was like a photo was taken in January and then March. This wasn't like a 6-month. I mean, it's maybe 90 days. It's extremely encouraging if one of your best players has bought into the weight room and the planning and the nutrition to that degree. That's a really good sign, and hopefully that motivates some of the other guys.
Yeah, I think Coach Storms. Who's the other one? Is it Rowdy Dowdy?
Yeah, literally. Yep.
So you got Coach Storms or Coach Rowdy Dowdy. Tweeted at him, like replied and did. I think he did like 191 to 211 or whatever it was. It was definitely over a 20-pound gain, which is crazy. I mean, in 2.5 months, I mean, when you would talk about Jeff Cameron's Alabama table, man, it's like that's incredible in 2 months. And look, yeah, whether he's flex, he's doing the Aslan flex or not, his shoulders are much more. They're noticeably broader. His body is noticeably bigger. And again, I'm uncomfortable talking about.
No,
we've talked already 4 minutes about a shirtless pic.
Let's talk about it.
Of a 21-year-old, but it is again maybe not the downfall of this program, but one of the things they've been really missing is I guess a strength coach that can make these kind of gains quickly and do it. I mean, it's just that guy doesn't look. He looks different, and he was already good. So if you're doing that, if you're making those gains and whatever that number was that Norvell gave us 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess now about the positive gains.
700 pounds.
Yeah. Either plus, either some guys that needed to lose weight or most guys needed to put it on. Man, that bodes extremely well. Like imagine what they'll look like. And receivers, that's fine. It's always great, I guess, to be a little stronger. You don't want him to lose any of his burst. But with the linemen especially, if you can turn that group into a strong group that can move people, if you can do that to Tamori and Terry in 2 months, what can you do to Chaz Neal in 18 months?
Yeah,
it's a good sign. And this is all being extrapolated from one shirtless pic on Twitter. That's what we do for you guys, folks. Right. Well, actually 2. There was the before and after picture.
Yeah. I think there's 4. There's 4 photos because there's 2 of him front facing before and after, and then there's 2 of him behind before and after. So 4.
Can you put? Do you still have your picture from the timer of your back?
I think I do. Yeah.
How about you do one? That would actually be really funny. You should do that. The exact same thing that Terry did.
Should reply to Terry's tweet and be like, "Yo, watch out, son."
Here comes the yeah. I think that'd be fun. People would like that.
Yeah, I would have been man. I looked like I'd have been probably like a 3-star safety.
Oh yeah, what? Especially if you were 210 and you're tall, right? What are you, 6'1", 6 foot?
6'1", 205. I was at. Yeah, it was good, man. I was carrying good weight.
You got the right disposition.
Man.
I think you're mean.
Damn.
So I think that would help. By the way, before I forget, the thing we were talking about with Gene and I, or maybe Ira, watching old games, we won't be watching the videos and breaking it down. Right. We won't be doing that. It'll be us talking about the games and maybe going over some of the key moments, but we will not be watching the videos. To cross-pollinate here and to talk about the other show I'm on, I've got to talk to Jeff Cameron about it. We got to figure out a way, but we promised people for years that we will do like a Seminole Headlines commentary of games, as we'll just watch them together and comment on the games as we watch them on video, because then that way we don't have to get any worry about licensing and stuff. Right. So anyway, we're hoping we can do something like that, folks. Anybody that listens to both of the shows, we got to figure out a way when I'm actually going to be back in town and we can all get together or do it on Skype or something. But we're looking to do that too. And this sounds sarcastic, and it's not. I don't mean it to be. We really are trying to do the best we can with the hand we've been dealt and entertain people as much as we can. Like, and Aslan and I will be doing stuff like this too, because it's, I don't know how we can't just talk about the day's events, obviously, because there are no day's events unless you want to talk about the coronavirus task force press conferences that are each day. And I know nobody wants to hear us talk about that. So,
I think
so
you're
we're
a
going to try
terrible
to do the best
reporter.
we can.
I think you're a terrible reporter, Corey. And that was a nasty question.
Well, thanks, Mr. President. That's reassuring.
But
But
I don't want to steal that idea. That's a headlines branded content thing. We'll figure out
no,
something.
but
I will task myself for figuring out some sort of like great debate questions. We can, not like faux Skip and Stephen A or anything, but there's I can conjure up some topics that you and I can kick around for at least 15 minutes at a time, back and forth. It's part of my job, part of your job. I mean, we have to be creative in this time and still come up with content because that's what people have come to expect, and I think so many people. It's crazy. Like, I got 2 text message, like group chat things going on pretty much. One is with my friends talking about the severity and the gravity of life right now. And then the other one is my friends like talking about NFL free agency. And I almost laugh at my friends that are involved in the NFL free agency thing. But I get it. There's folks that absolutely want nothing really to do with current events, and they want to block it out as much as they can. They want to talk about sports, and we'll try to do that. But I think you and I probably have our eye maybe a little bit less on sports, which is probably not something I should admit. But at least, I don't want to speak for you. I'll speak for myself. I'm thirsty and hungry for sports to come back, but at the same time, when I see people like trying to create and foment like discussion about things, it's like, man, who knows when that's coming back? So wake me up when it does. But we'll talk about stuff. We'll figure it out.
yeah, indeed. It's just, again, it's we've never been in a position like this in the history of our country. Certainly in the history of this podcast, we don't know when sports will be back. It doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. Again, that's what angers me so much about the beach. If we could all get in this together for 2 weeks, we could really help.
Don't blame the beach.
Look,
I saw a photo of like a zoo in Phoenix, and it was packed. So,
yeah, no, it's not just the beaches. It's but that didn't help. That wasn't great optics, number one. And
Right.
Disney World being open, whenever that was, 6 or 7 days ago.
Yeah,
it's incredible. And I'm only speaking that because that's our home state. That's where Florida State is. That's where you and I live. At least me, part of the time. And it's just really disappointing that. And I think honestly, if all these governors would come out and tell people, look, if you don't self-isolate or at least quarantine yourself for 2 weeks, there might not be a college football season.
Right.
I think that would get people to do it. And I'm being dead honest.
Yeah.
So, we got to keep this spread down as much as we can. Because I'll do brackets all day, Aslan. We can do brackets till the end of time. But I also like watching college football. I'm watching the LSU Clemson game right now.
All right, look at that. Hey, I have an app on my phone that I put all these topics a long time ago, but these are mostly hot takes I had when Willie had gotten the job, so they're all pretty much rendered useless. Let me throw this 4-seamer at you, or maybe a 1-seamer. Can you believe that? How do you throw a 1-seam fastball? Meat was illustrating it for us one day, but that's just bizarre. I can't even imagine it. But people
I can't either.
Worst hire. McHale? I forgot, what was his first name? Who's
Kevin, the Celtics forward?
No.
Mark? Yeah.
Mark McHale or Bill Miller?
I mean,
sorry, guys. Sorry, Mr. Miller. Sorry, Mr. McHale, but, that's the only thing I have in my whole list. Actually, the other one I have is, does Jimbo equal Sean Payton? 1 ring, otherwise very ornery. But no, Sean Payton's much more decorated and accomplished than Jimbo.
You can't do like best hire. Why do you got to go for the glass half empty outlook?
Well,
You can do best hire, Odell or Dawsey. I would say probably Bill Miller, only because of the staff that he joined. Or let me put it another way, the program he joined. Like, didn't he come right after they won the championship?
Yeah, man, 14. Chuck,
So
old Chuck Kelly becomes DC, gives up the linebacker
so
job.
he takes over for Charles Kelly when Charles Kelly becomes the DC, right? Because Charles Kelly was the, I know he's the special teams coach. He was the linebackers coach too, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and then Bill Miller comes in, and no, he did not do a good job. I don't think Mark McHale had when he came in, the program wasn't quite at the mountaintop. He didn't help, but I wouldn't put him in the same category as Bill Miller. And again, it's neither. I don't think I ever said a word to Bill Miller. I'll be honest with you, literally. And I don't even know if he came into my living room right now and lit up a cigar, that I would be 100% confident it was him. I can't place his face right now. That's how it was back then. We didn't get to talk to coaches, so I don't know that I ever said a word to him. And he might be able to coach. He might be an incredible X's and O's coach. I don't think that's the case, but he might be. But he couldn't get players here. You know?
Yeah.
The linebacker position went from, we didn't know it at the time, but they had Nigel Bradham, Vince Williams, and Telvin Smith all on the same team. And all three of those guys, played in the league for a good long while, and are still playing and still making a lot of money. Well, Telvin's not, but that was a different reason. So you went from that to what the last couple of years have been, and that's Bill Miller with his fingerprints all over that. So I'll go ahead and say Bill Miller. What an uplifting question, Aswan. That's great. How about next we go over like the best fires? Chicago Fire.
I was going to say most painful Florida State loss that wasn't an in-state rival, but we'll save that for another show. I just came off the top of my head. I would have said Mark McHale just because of like the expectations put on him, because I'm pretty sure Bobby said, like, I know what's wrong with this team and I'm going to fix it. And then that was like, ta-da. I mean,
I think that the difference there, though, especially now that you're asking me in hindsight, is that I don't know if Bobby knew what was. What? Say that again.
Go. I was going to say, I think Mark McHale was almost either unemployed or was like coaching maybe like high school, not too far removed from that. But I don't think Bill Miller was really doing anything all that great either before he came. So carry on.
Well, look up Mark McHale. I thought he was at like Marshall.
I think he was at some point, but I don't know if he came directly from there. I think he was there when they had Leftwich and all that kind of stuff. Old Byron Leftwich. Let me check it out.
Yeah,
though.
Well, that wouldn't have been too far before he came to Florida State, because that was like, whenever that was. No, but I would say the difference there with Bobby saying that, he said, I know what the problem is and I'm going to fix it. And then I guess he fired Jimmy Higgins, who had been there for a good portion of the dynasty run, and then replaced him. So you, from the outside, you're like, oh, well, that must have been the problem as the offensive line coach, which fine. Maybe Higgins wasn't doing a great job. But we all know what the real problem was with that particular Florida State program, right. Especially if you want to focus in on the offensive side of the football, coaching staff wise. It wasn't the O-line coach, but the guy that was the real problem happened to be the son of the head coach. So in hindsight, the expectations were high on Mark McHale, but they were, we all know what the real problem was there. Yeah. And it wouldn't have mattered. You could have brought in Art Shell to coach the O-line. It wouldn't have mattered with who else was on the staff, in my opinion.
5 years at Marshall before he came to Florida State. 2 years prior to Marshall, he was the head football coach at Warren County High School.
Well, there you go. All right. So he had some head coaching experience. And was at Marshall. Yeah. Was he when did he get to Florida State?
2005.
Okay, so he wasn't there for Randy Moss. He was probably there, but he was there for Byron Leftwich, so that's cool.
There. Got Marshall in 2000 through 2004. Crazy thing is I could probably actually email him and have him come on the show. And like, hey, man, I'm sorry. I had a bad segment where I beat up on you. Do you want to come on? Talk about your time. Talk about your time in Tallahassee, Mark. What was it like? What were the meeting rooms like with Jeff Bowden?
I just want to know what Bill Miller sounds like. I just want to know what his voice sounds like. I never got to hear it.
Oh, man. Hey, so did you watch anything this weekend on Netflix, or how did you stay occupied this weekend? I did some yoga at the house, but I don't think it really went all that well. I didn't like it. It wasn't very flowy. I didn't like the poses. I did perspire a whole bunch. And I don't know how people do hot yoga. I think like they say they drop the room down to 90. I turned the AC off, and I think it got to 82 in the crib. And, man, I was slipping and sliding everywhere. That was Sunday. Saturday I did absolutely nothing because I had to edit one of the videos, and I watched a horrible reality show, Corey, but I'll let you go first. Have you learned any new shows or programming that I should watch and our listeners should tune into?
I watched. So Stephanie was up this weekend. So she hung out with me and Brady for a couple nights. Made me watch Bombshell.
Okay.
The movie about Fox News with just Megyn Kelly and Gretchen Carlson and that whole Roger Ailes. He seemed like a good guy, Roger Ailes. So I watched that. It was entertaining enough. Watched some Schitt's Creek, the show on Netflix.
Do you have stock in that? I mean, you've dropped the name of that show like 3 times. I thought you said you were done with it.
No, I was done with the first season.
Oh, okay.
But apparently there's a few more coming. So yeah, watch that. I'm going to watch Tiger King on Netflix.
Hearing about this, 2 people have shown me photos of like, hey, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm like, what is this show?
So I only know it because I listened to a podcast about it, and it's about a dude. If it's the same thing as the podcast, I know part of it is. It's about a dude that had a tiger. I don't know what you'd call it, a sanctuary or a
rescue.
Well, sort of, but
rescue. Big cat rescue.
Yeah, sure. So he had his own land where he'd have these tigers, and you could go look at them and pet them. I guess he'd have baby tigers you could pet too. Yeah. And then there was this other woman that thought it was vile and evil to the tigers, and so she became like his enemy. And then it just goes from there. And I think the woman lived in Florida, so it's got a little local angle too. So yeah, I'm gonna watch that. I've heard good things. I've heard it's crazy, which most of Netflix's shows documentaries are. So yeah, that's what I did basically. Went to the ball fields with Brady and Stephanie. Just got to do something. So a little batting practice, a little pitching practice, a little fielding practice, and Brady got some work in too. And had a good time overall.
Well played. Yeah, I went to grade school with a kid whose father, I think, actually ran or managed a big cat. Literally might even be called Big Cat Rescue, and it was like in the Tampa area. It was a tiger sanctuary or whatever.
What was his last name? Was it this guy? You need to watch this guy.
I don't know. The kid's last name was Cody.
All right, well. Maybe you'll watch. I feel like there can't be that many tiger sanctuaries in Florida.
Right. All right. Well, check it out. See what it's all about.
Oh, and I also wrote the another story about the men's basketball team winning a tournament game.
Let's go.
So they're on to the Sweet 16 now.
That was good. I literally LOL'd I think 3 times reading it. It's You're really putting the bar really high in the round of 32. I wonder how I don't know how far the season's going to go. I don't know how the bracket's shaking down and who they've got in the Sweet 16 and the second weekend out there in Houston. But if they keep rolling, if Malik Osborne keeps jamming on folks, let him hear where he's coming from. I'm curious to see if you can keep up this momentum you've created. It's fantastic. It's great, Corey.
Well, if I can't, then they'll just lose. I don't know if that's really the spirit of what I'm trying to do is they lose to Maryland in the Sweet 16, but hey, I could do that. I could just get tired of it. There's a
thread on Warchant, Corey, about will they win? And everyone's like, of course. There's no way they're not going to win it all. And a couple people are like, if he doesn't, I'll be so angry. And then I think somebody was like, I bet you will make it to the championship but lose, just so it wouldn't hurt as much to know that we would have won it this year had this all not happened. I was like, wow, that was 3D chess.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to, because then you don't want to feel like, man, they lost a chance at a championship, but they did. And so even when I'm writing this, as goofy as they are, and I try to make them, obviously there's some very outlandish things in these stories, but I do have real scores and real stats. And they are playing Maryland in the Sweet 16. Maryland beat Virginia in the second round. I think 30-25 was the score. So they played Maryland in the Sweet 16. And if they beat Maryland, they play the winner of Baylor and Ohio State.
I like that. I like that matchup. Yeah. I'll take that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good match. I took it from I think the latest CBS bracket that they made. I just took that that whole side. So yeah, they would match up with the Baylor Ohio State winner. So there's a chance they could either be playing Baylor with the number 1 seed, and that from that crazy town, or they could be playing C.J. Walker,
Ooh, that's
former
right.
Florida State guard, who is now the starting guard at Ohio State. But anyway, so when I write these stories, like they're fun and I get to goof around and be goofy, but it really does, like, there's a little bit of anguish to it too. Like, man, as fun as this might be to do and goofy in the moment, it really is an enormous bummer that they're not playing. They didn't get a chance to see. Man, just so frustrating. And that, Trent Forrest, I hope he makes the NBA and I hope he plays a long time in the NBA. But there's a chance, I guess, that I'll never get to see him play basketball again because he'll be playing in Greece or somewhere.
Right.
I hope he makes the NBA. I think he's got a chance. But, that's just it makes you long for what a throw by Burrow right there. Oh, and he dropped it. It makes you it just makes you long for you just wanted a chance. Like right now, literally, Aslan, we should be talking about the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Like they would have just ended as we started this show. Yeah. And we don't get to. So I get to make up things, which is fun, but man, it was just such a good team, such a fun team to cheer for. And one thing I talked to Stan Jones, I did a Q&A with, or I'm going to do I talked to Stan Jones. I'm going to print a Q&A in the next day or two, what we talked about. And one of the points I brought up to him, which I don't even know if he had thought about. I was like, man, the thing about your team was that, and I think I'm pretty sure I brought it up on here before. The most admirable trait about that team, other than how much they cheered for each other, which we all know, but man, they didn't just go away. Like every team, Duke lost a couple games by 20 points. Every team loses a couple games where they're just not in it. Like, okay, it's just not our day. We're down by 16. We can't get anything to fall. We're just going to be done. Or the team came storming back. They've now taken the lead. We're on their floor. We're done. They were in every game but one with a minute to go. Within one possession of every game they played. Except for the Indiana game. In the Indiana game, they were down 3 with 5 minutes to go. They were just a really tough out. And when I told him that, he's like, yeah. He goes, I don't know what kind of article you're writing, but you might want to lead with that point. He goes, I hadn't even thought about that. I'm like, yeah, man, it didn't matter if y'all played great. If y'all played great, you would roll a team. But if you didn't even play that well or didn't shoot that well, that team always found a way to be in it with 2 minutes to go. And that's a really great trait. It's a lot like, I was going to say it's a lot like the 14 football team, but not really. I think they just played to their competition all the time. But and that's what I'm going to miss the most is who was going to knock them out, because you had to beat them. They weren't just going to give you a game, and they weren't going to just give up like the Isaac team. Like they got blown out a few times, that Isaac team, and they got blown out in the tournament. Well, this team wasn't going to get blown out in the tournament. So it would have probably, if they lost, it would have been a heartbreaking loss because it would have been in the final minute. But they would have fought till the final whistle, man, because that's what that DNA of that team was. And it's just a bummer what they built, that character trait, along with how much they cared for each other and how fun they were to watch. We didn't get to see that. We didn't get to see it finish out. Feel cheated a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, man. Shouldn't have picked up my phone. Got totally distracted there. It was good stuff, though. Very impassioned plea from you there, Corey.
Thank you, buddy. And also read my and just get on there and see where Florida State goes in the what could have been NCAA tournament. They might get knocked out in the next round. Maryland's a tough matchup.
Mark Turgeon.
That would be funny if they just lost like 80-58. I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
That's a wrap.
But that probably won't happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will post a thread over on the Tribal Council. Leave your questions in there. Really strong showing from everybody last week. I know you probably don't have a lot of questions that we can answer, but if you want to fire them off there, go ahead. We'll kick them around, and I will maybe figure out a couple talking point debate kind of things we can have. I'll do my job, basically. I'm going to keep doing my job so that you folks can keep doing your jobs. And we've been getting a couple of emails from people telling us how much they appreciate us doing these shows, Corey. I don't know if you've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
A couple people commenting on threads on Warchant. So we'll keep cranking this stuff out for you folks. Obviously not 5 days a week, but
it will also, like, my offer too is like, if you just want to hear us talk about something from the past, we don't have to do like we did with when we pretended we were talking about the 13 team because the 18 season was going so poorly. But if you want to hear like my or Aslan's thoughts about
the
any
1988
game or
Democratic
anything,
National Convention.
what?
Go ahead. What do you want us to talk about?
No, I'm not. I'm saying if they want us to talk about anything, give us a suggestion. Like we'll, Florida State related, obviously, but we can talk about anything. Up to like 19 or down, back to 1980. We can talk about anything, but obviously more recently would probably be better, at least last 15 years or so, or 20 years. But yeah, anything you guys want us to talk about, we will talk about. I feel like we're like a cover band. Like we'll take requests. If y'all want us to talk about the Georgia Tech game in 2008, I don't know why I'd bring that up. That was like a gut punch of a loss.
Rubbing off on you. Thank God.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the Aslan. That would be an Aslan suggestion. How about the choke and doke or the PK Sam catch, that game or that team, anything? We're up for it, man. We'll talk about anything because we don't want this show to go away. Number one, I think is the overall point, not because of the. Obviously we do have sponsors, but more so because of you guys. Really, like I know, like it's hard, man. It's hard. I'm waiting for some of the podcasts that I'm used to hearing from. There's nothing for them to talk about, or they're just not releasing them. And we don't want to do that. We know this is a distraction from the real world, and it's getting really real here in the last couple of weeks. So we'll talk about anything, Florida State related, obviously. Or hey, you know what? We'll do an Anything Goes podcast too. Whatever you guys want us to talk about, we will, because we're here for you. We're all going to get through this together.
I'm going to talk about Love is Blind, that horrible reality show on Netflix. I got some strong feelings about it. Don't get sucked into it. I tweeted about it. Steph said she wants me to talk about it, or she wants you to watch one episode, maybe get drowned into it, but I won't let it happen. Yeah. Don't do it, Corey. Just don't do it.
No. There's no chance.
Yeah.
I saw that one episode of The Bachelor, and I'm like, yeah, no, I can't do this. If I thought it was real,
all right.
Like if they somehow had like people going on first, like if Tinder somehow behind the scenes set up like cameras on a first date where the two participants didn't know that the cameras were there or they were being followed, and it was a real first date and it was a real second date. I mean, obviously we don't have to see what goes on for the whole date.
Hey-o.
But that stuff I would watch. But the stuff that's not real reality, man, can't do it. Can't do it. I'll tell you what I will watch though. Is I get sucked into there's two things I get sucked into on YouTube more than anything else. One is soldiers returning home. I'll see one of those and I'll just go down a rabbit hole for an hour and a half. And the other one is these singing competitions. Like the best day, like the auditions where like the people are really nervous, they're not sure if they're any good.
Oh right, and they just crush it.
And they just crush it the chairs swing around really quickly on that one, The Voice.
Yeah.
And the chairs swing around, and those things are awesome. And their families in the background all cheering and getting teary eyed. I'm addicted to that stuff too. And I've never watched a single second of The Voice on live television. But I've watched probably 100 clips in my life of people just crushing their audition. And how excited and happy they are when they get told they've made it. So anyway, not that anybody cared about that, but I figured I'd share anyway.
All right, very well. We're done. We'll be back Wednesday most likely, and we'll try to get through all the questions. And if not, we'll probably split up into 2 days because we're going to do this 3 days a week to maintain some sort of consistent structure for everybody. Because again, what I said about 6 minutes ago, and Corey understated and circled and italicized and bold printed. So we're done. Have a great day. Enjoy your Monday. We'll be back with another edition of Wake Up Warchant on Wednesday. For Corey Maslon, thanks for listening.
Some call them lunchtime lifesavers. Others call them the most perfect sandwiches to ever exist. At Zaxby's, we just call them our signature fan favorites. The Southern TLC Filet Sandwich has hand-breaded chicken with fresh tomato and crisp lettuce. The famous Kickin' Chicken Sandwich features spicy tongue torch and Cool Ranch sauces. And for a limited time, fried pickles are back. 2 classic sandwiches and a legendary appetizer. 3 more reasons you're gonna get a kick out of Zaxby's.